Thank you for choosing to watch the Watchman News Headlines video. Our full episodes can now be seen over at Patreon with much more added content for just $2 a month. Link is in the description. If you cannot afford $2 a month, please consider using our Amazon affiliate link, purchasing from our Teespring store, or making a PayPal donation. All links are below. In order for us to grow, we have to make changes to enable it. Our time is valuable, and we have been one of the very few news sources actually dedicated to bringing you honest, hard-hitting, actionable news and information. Plus, for your $2 a month, you do not have to hear me blabber about these links. It's a win for us all.
Bullshit.
Thank you. Good evening, Watchmen and Watchwomen of YouTube. So, tonight we discussed, largely we discussed the unfolding situation going on in Elizabeth City, North Carolina. So there was a police-involved shooting there. Videotape was witnessed, video footage, around, I believe, 20 seconds of it was witnessed by family members today. And the public is awaiting that video footage to be released to them. And the city has already declared state of emergency, and they're already putting things in place because they suspect there's going to be an arrest. And as I was discussing on Patreon, the attorneys, the way that they described the video, if what is released reflects what they described in the manner in which they described, there is likely going to be a whole lot of unrest. So we'll see. We'll see. Clearly, I haven't saw it or anything like that, but it. And I pointed this out. I want to point this out to YouTube. I pointed this out to Patreon. Let me point this out to YouTube as well. And if you hadn't noticed this, if you hadn't noticed this, and this is something that you're like, do me a favor. And I don't normally ask this, but if I taught you something, if I showed something to you, click share and show it to somebody else. But I want to show you something. All right, when it comes to these police shootings. Whenever an officer truly did what they had to do, that body cam footage is released immediately. Look at Micaiah. If I said her name incorrectly, I apologize. Look at Micaiah. Immediately. Boom. Here you go. What, was that the same day or next day? Or it was boom. They were on it. But anytime that there's something hanky going on, or even remotely hanky going on, it takes a while. You ever notice that? If you're just now noticing it, click share. Help somebody else notice that. Because these are patterns. And these patterns are important to be able to recognize. They help you discern. Okay? And we need a whole lot of discernment in this country. A whole lot. See, because there's a such thing as good, and there's a such thing as bad. And they don't necessarily follow party lines. They don't follow races. They don't follow religions, nationalities. They follow hearts. And there's good hearts, and there's bad hearts. And that's how we need to look at one another. Instead of with these labels inside of these boxes, put on these shelves. We need to just look at one another like human beings. We might be able to understand a whole lot more of this stuff and each other if we did. I think we're going to see a lot of unrest here. And again, if what we see when they release this video footage is what was described by the attorneys for the family. I think you can expect to see a whole lot of unrest. Anyway, let's get to some headlines. All right. Don't have anything from last night. Everything I shared out this morning after I got up. Russian Soyuz rocket takes off with 36 British-built satellites and launch commemorating Yuri Gagarin's historic spaceflight. And I'm sure I said his last name incorrectly, and his first name for that matter. Inappropriate to comment on Trump's words, Seoul says after ex-president calls South Korean leader weak and a bad negotiator. With contracts in place for enough doses to immunize the entire population, South Korea is developing a second domestic vaccine. Government denies report that Bojo said he would rather let bodies pile high than impose a third lockdown, but Brits are still fuming. Britain's deployment is not Britain's deployment is not to be provocative, says Defense Secretary, as UK sends aircraft carrier and other warships towards China. A man who murdered policewoman in France watched jihadist videos and sought mental treatment, says a prosecutor. It's globally praised, works well, and is registered in 60 nations. So why do more Russians not want Sputnik 5 COVID-19 vaccine? Turkey orders 500 plus arrests of suspects thought to be linked to U.S.-based cleric Gulen. Johnson urged by veterans of Northern Ireland politics to address unrest there before situation falls over. IAEA invites Chinese experts to join the technical working group on Japan's nuclear wastewater disposal, Beijing says. And, when I read that headline, I thought, you know what? In all seriousness, good for them. And I mean that. If Japan said, you know what, and I from several different angles, this is awesome. If they said, you know what, you got so much to say about the plan here, and I'm not defending Japan's plan of dumping nuclear wastewater into the ocean. I'm not defending that plan or anything. I'm not taking a stance. It's not my job. But to see them open up and say, come on here and give us, your ideas. Give us your thoughts. That's awesome. That's awesome. I would like to see a lot more of that in the world. I mean, so we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. But I that's good. WHO to review Moderna's COVID vaccine for emergency use listing within a few days. India's double-digit growth in doubt amid massive surge in COVID cases. Russia's communists warn comrades against flirting with Navalny, but won't expel members who sympathize with opposition figure. End of Moscow's reliance on gas and oil. Russia's solar power potential means it could become world's green energy leader, says an expert. Incredible video shows NASA's Ingenuity fly further and faster than ever before on Mars. Pretty cool. Self-proclaimed race baiter posts video of white hotel clerk having breakdown after being scolded by black customer. Moscow prosecutors order suspension of jailed Alexei Navalny's political operations ahead of possible extremism, says a court ruling. Iran decries cherry-picked and illegal reports of classified chat that claim foreign minister revealed power struggles with army. A mass funeral pyres and graves. Horrific photos show India's struggle with COVID-19. A weaker dollar and coronavirus surge boosts gold safe haven appeal. EU sues AstraZeneca for under-delivering on COVID-19 vaccine contract. Beijing's foreign trade exceeds $104 billion in the first 3 months of 2021. At least 16 children injured as rocket hits government compound in Afghanistan during a Quran recital competition. Elderly Australian man marches alone to commemorate fallen military comrades after event cancelled due to COVID-19 curbs. Thailand bans travel from India and imposes lockdown and fines for not wearing masks in Bangkok. 3-month pause between Russia's Sputnik 5 shots possible and may be beneficial efficacy-wise, says vaccine developer. 76 years on from historic Elbe meeting, Moscow says Russia and U.S. should come together to fight against modern rewriting of history. No exceptions. Thai PM slapped with $190 fine after photo showed him maskless at a meeting. How dare he? MI6 head reveals that Russophrenia-stricken UK defense chiefs think Russia is both a declining power and their number one rival. Stop targeting China if you wanted to support global trade reforms, WTO head tells world powers. Let's see. Beavers temporarily cut off remote town from outside world by chewing through fiber optic cable. Would kind of suck for those people. Gravity is racist. Sheffield Uni wants disclaimers on Isaac Newton's theories, says he's benefited from colonial activity, says the media. When, where, how does it end? And I posted that on Facebook earlier today on my personal page. I posed the question. Where is it? What's the end goal here? If it's unity they seek, boy, they've got a hell of a way of achieving it. Because the only thing you're going to achieve with the methods that they're using is division, segregation, hatred, and eventually civil war. Which is clearly where we're headed. It's ridiculous. It is truly, truly ridiculous where this country's headed. And it doesn't have to be. But people got to stop being selfish. And looking for that easy ride. Right now being a victim is an easy ride. So, unfortunately, those that play the victim game create a whole lot more victims along the way. Washington and Moscow in discussions over potential Putin-Biden summit for this summer after U.S. President's proposal, the Kremlin confirms. Italy eases COVID restrictions as Parliament weighs EU recovery package amid worst recession since World War II. British-Iranian Nazanian Zaharie Ratcliffe sentenced to 1 year in prison for propaganda against Iran, says a lawyer. I'm sure I got that name way wrong. No external forces are allowed to intervene, says Beijing, after Canberra calls on allies to work together for Taiwan peace. Spanish minister receives package with bloodied knife ahead of election after fellow politicians get death threats and bullets. Russian wheat exports surge nearly 11% despite export curbs. The first human home. Archaeologists discover traces of 1.8 million year old stone tools in African Miracle Cave. I thought that was pretty incredible. A lawsuit that would have banned transgender athletes from competing in female high school sports is thrown out by a judge in the U.S. Bitcoin rallies from last week's dramatic plunge. China will support Russia over new American sanctions, Beijing's foreign ministry announces, insisting U.S. should respect Moscow. Minnesota AG Keith Ellison draws flack after saying he felt a little bad for Derek Chauvin as guilty verdicts were delivered. A French police car is vandalized with graffiti and a pig's head impaled on a broom. Austrian Chancellor and German Foreign Minister warn new EU sanctions against Russia won't work as both call for dialogue instead. Army drafted in to help India's struggling hospitals battling spiraling COVID cases. Over 70% of Americans unwilling to get Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 jab following pause over blood clot worries, says a poll. Hit by massive COVID-19 wave, India seeks oxygen and antivirals from the EU with aid expected soon. 2 injured, college evacuated after gunfire reported in West Sussex, says police. In the UK, obviously. U.S. Supreme Court agrees to hear landmark Second Amendment case on carrying handguns in public. China's next probe will carry French and Russian gear to the moon. Asteroid defense system planned also. State senator says Alaska airline monopoly should be reviewed after it bans her for not masking up and forcing her to take ferry. Millions of children at risk from serious disease after COVID disrupts 60 mass immunization campaigns. Says UN health agencies. Black Axe bust. Italian police arrest 30 suspected members of Nigerian mafia gang. Bill Gates says no to opening vaccine patents. Adds it probably won't take a decade for poor nations to get the jab. North Carolina mayor declares state of emergency in preparation for release of footage showing police shooting of Andrew Brown. Woman sues Reddit for selective blindness to child porn on its platform. Black Lives Matter hammered for condemning senseless killing of Micaiah Bryant, ignoring knife and threat to stab. Turkey set for weeks-long lockdown, Erdogan says, amid country's stubborn COVID-19 death rate. Pardon me. Justice Department launching probe into Louisville policing. Whitewashing genocide, Rick Santorum blasted after declaring U.S. birthed from nothing and dismissing Native American culture. U.S. to share up to 60 million doses of AstraZeneca jab with other countries when available, the White House says. Yeah, you know, the one that gives you the free blood clots. DOJ to investigate cops and government of Louisville, Kentucky following Breonna Taylor police shooting death. And that's what the other headline was indicating. It's clarified it a little bit more. Australian MP blasts Facebook's interference after his official page was banned for COVID-19 misinformation. UK police watchdog probing officers' handling of Richard, and I'm not even going to attempt that last name, disappearance to see if race played a part. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin on that last name. EU to reopen to American tourists this summer, but travelers must have proof of approved jabs, Brussels says. 2020's global military spending reached highest level in decades despite economic woes, a report finds. I'm sure. Biden and Harris dodge weekly coronavirus calls with governors, but White House says there's no controversy. Shocking U.S. Census results. New York was 89 people short of keeping Congress seat, and California down for the first time ever. Illinois lost a seat as well. So, half of Americans see Kamala Harris as unqualified for presidency, says a poll. Needed a poll? Really? You needed a poll. Okay. Canadian city Hamilton opens up vaccine eligibility to people 18 and over in outbreak hotspots as long as they aren't white. Yeah, you heard that right. Right. Oh. We got a kitty. We got a kitty on the porch. We need a kitty. We do. We do need it. Blue needs a kitty. And I keep telling both these women's that. And Blue needs a mau. Oh, I thought I saw a second mau for a second. But anyway, there's a mau out there. It's leaving now. Anyway. I see like when there was snow and stuff, I'd see the tracks. I knew there was one that was roaming the area, but it's the first time I've actually seen it. Anyway, sorry, that's not news, is it? Let's see. Pakistan deploys troops to help civilian authorities cope with COVID-19 infections. Let's see. If you can't beat them, join them. JP Morgan to create Bitcoin fund after caving to clients' crypto lusts. Campaign to recall California Governor Newsom racks up 1.6 million plus signatures, meeting threshold to appear on the ballot. Ruh-roh, Shaggy. And I did see number one up there. Visuwell CEO gets doxxed and fired for harassing male prom goer for wearing a dress in a viral video. Okay, whatever. Anyway, let me get that put out. That's the headlines. So, there. Take that. Craziness. Anyway, like I said, expect to see some content coming up real quick like. So, and I'm speaking a lot to Patreon there. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. So the shed's on the way. It'll be here probably 2-3 days. And so I've got a lot of stuff coming up, a lot of stuff to do, a lot of projects. And not everything is going to be on YouTube, so you might want to consider as we roll over to the new month after the first, and you might want to consider Patreon. So don't do it now because they're at the end of the month, and so you'd be paying for just a short amount of time. Wait until after the first. I would recommend if you're a new you're interested in being a new Patreon subscriber. So anyway, got a lot of stuff. We're going to continue to build projects. At least that's the plan. And we'll go from there. So anyway, I'm out of here. I hope y'all have a good night. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.